expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, it's great to have this opportunity. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. And I've got to say, one of the most disheartening components of the previous administration, when I was working with local law enforcement all over the state of North Carolina, all over the country, people rightfully did not really care about the inner workings of Washington, D.C. The FBI had previously been the paramount, the sterling, the top of the top law enforcement agency. They wanted their FBI to fight crime. Whatever small town, city, whatever it may be, FBI was expected to deliver for the American people. And then reports started to come out, in addition to the likes of McCabe, Comey, Clapper, Strzok, Page, that the FBI was targeting Christian nonprofits. They were targeting parents for protesting radical gender theory at their schools. They targeted Catholics, churches, pro-life organizations. And the FBI was really bruised in just modern day America. And your focus on getting the FBI back to the streets, fighting criminals, locking up bad guys, whether they're violent criminals, whether they're sex predators, whatever they may be, that is restoring the reputation of the FBI, and I thank you for that. In regards to the perceptions, I want to be very clear here. You mentioned the statistics about removing dangerous illegals, removing thousands of kilograms of drugs, violent criminals, guns. The border is secure. These accomplishments are noteworthy and they're needed. But at the same token, I want your take. The fight is not over. Isn't that correct? When we look at what happened in the previous administration, the number of illegal alien criminals that made their way into this country of every type, they're embedded, they're here, and it's going to take a sustained effort to win this battle.
That's the critical component, sustained effort. And that's the critical component when you look at what happened in Washington, D.C. We're not here for 4 seconds in terms of safeguarding Washington, D.C. Yep. It's a sustained initiative. We're taking it to Memphis and wherever we decide else. And so we are going to continue the mission till it's done.
In regards to offloading some of the agents from Washington, D.C. to the states, to the people, can you just explain how tactically that is a force multiplier in the law enforcement community around the country?
Yeah. It's pretty simple. You don't even have to be in law enforcement to know that. If you put cops with other cops, they're going to do cop work.
That's right.
And what was needed in the communities out there was more cops. What was not needed in the bloated bureaucracy of Washington, D.C. was a third of the FBI's workforce, because a third of the crime does not happen in the Washington, D.C. NCR area. And so the results speak for themselves. Our state and local partners, I've always said this, are our biggest ally, our
yes.
greatest ally and partner, and we cannot do the work without them. But we got to send our guys to them.
That's right. And in regards to the last 4 years, the open border policies, whether it's terrorism, drug trafficking, human trafficking, violent crime, massive amounts of organized retail theft, and other types of criminal behavior, can you describe, just so anyone who's listening here can talk about, how serious the levels of criminality have become in the United States?
Well, unfortunately, in order to have these record-breaking numbers of arrests and seizures, you tragically had to have a record-breaking explosion in violent crime. And it doesn't happen overnight. Right. And it came in from all corners of the earth and from all platforms, including social media. And that's the root cause of all of these evils. And in order to clean it up, it's not going to happen overnight. But the men and women of the FBI, what they did in these 7 months, everybody should be talking about it. Every single district in this dais is safer now, today, than it has ever been because of that work.
And in regards to the ongoing political climate, Director Patel, how do sanctuary policies that are still being implemented and defended in certain states, cities, and counties, how do they help or hurt your efforts to make America safer?
Well, if you are harboring criminals, you are harboring our ability to keep our communities safe. It's that simple. If you have a fugitive warrant for a violent felony offense, and we are not able to procure you because of policies or rules that don't allow us to go get them. And time again, we have heard all too many illegal immigrants who should not have been here, murdering women, murdering children, giving drugs to our youth, and raping our children, and that is unacceptable.
Straightly put, can you separate immigration enforcement with fighting crime?
They're intertwined.
Thank you. In regards to policies like cashless bail, how does that help or hurt your efforts?
Criminals know that there are certain jurisdictions where if they shoot someone, they'll be out the door within the next hour. to do it again. And that's an ethos that is, and a system that has been built out over years that we are combating.
How is defunding the police around the country, how has that helped or hurt?
As long as I'm in this seat, we're not defunding any cops.
Good. Thank you, Director. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Garcia is recognized.
At Wednesday's House Judiciary Committee hearing, Representative Brad Knott, Republican, North Carolina, directed his questions at FBI Director Kash Patel, pressing him on the Bureau's priorities, past controversies, and current challenges in fighting crime across the country. Knott began by reflecting on how the FBI, once seen as the gold standard of law enforcement, lost standing in the eyes of everyday Americans. He recalled his conversations with local law enforcement officers in North Carolina and beyond, noting that people weren't interested in Washington politics. They wanted the FBI to be focused on stopping crime. He argued that under the previous administration, damaging reports surfaced about the Bureau targeting Christian nonprofits, Catholic churches, pro-life organizations, and even parents voicing concerns at school board meetings. These actions, Knott said, left the Bureau bruised and undermined public trust. Shifting to the present, Knott praised Patel for moving the agency back toward what he described as its proper mission: arresting violent criminals, stopping sex predators, seizing guns and drugs, and keeping communities safe. Patel highlighted the results of the FBI's recent work, citing the removal of dangerous illegal immigrants, the capture of violent offenders, and the seizure of thousands of kilograms of narcotics and large caches of firearms. He said that while progress has been made, the fight is far from over. This is a sustained effort, Patel explained, stressing that crime networks and criminal migration cannot be dismantled overnight. The discussion then turned to Patel's decision to reassign FBI agents away from Washington, D.C., and back into states and communities. Knott asked how this strategy worked as a force multiplier. Patel replied that the concept was simple: if you put cops with other cops, they're going to do cop work. He argued that Washington did not need a third of the Bureau's workforce when a third of the nation's crime was not happening there. By embedding agents in local communities, he said, the FBI could better support its most valuable allies, state and local law enforcement officers. Knott pressed Patel on how border and immigration policies affect the crime landscape. Patel was blunt, saying that open border policies in recent years had fueled a surge in violent crime, drug trafficking, and human smuggling. He warned that sanctuary city policies make the FBI's work harder, describing them as harboring criminals and preventing agents from apprehending dangerous fugitives. Patel pointed to repeated instances of illegal immigrants committing murders, sexual assaults, and drug crimes that he said should never have occurred. The congressman also questioned Patel on broader justice policies, such as cashless bail. Patel said criminals were well aware of jurisdictions that allowed them to walk free within hours of committing serious crimes, sometimes even shootings. He argued that such systems only embolden repeat offenders. On the issue of defunding police, Patel was emphatic: as long as I'm in this seat, we're not defunding any cops. Knott welcomed that response, noting that communities across the country depend on a strong partnership between federal and local law enforcement. The exchange underscored deep divisions over how the FBI should operate, but it also showed areas of bipartisan concern, particularly when it comes to violent crime, drug trafficking, and community safety. Patel closed his remarks by stressing that while challenges remain, the Bureau's work in recent months has already made districts across the country safer. He reiterated that the FBI's mission is to keep Americans secure, not to focus on politics, but to put cops with cops and take criminals off the streets.